Jeju, again, was all over international news recently. And even I work for UPI, my newspaper wrote about it too. And the first thing, I got so frustrated because we just talked about traffic. We just talked about how infuriating traffic is in this island. And all these articles were talking about how Jeju is a revolutionary.
Blows my mind. Blows my mind.
So we have to talk about the fact, but it's
I feel like somebody got paid off to send this out.
Well, no, the Jeju flew all the reporters down for this.
Because anyone that's been at a roundabout in this island knows that this is not revolutionary stuff here.
But that was my first response too. But it's not.
It's more than
really
that, right?
about traffic,
right?
Even though a lot of people talked about traffic, right? Because the plan was talking about how more than 180 miles of Jeju's roads have been like souped up with sensors and technology where they communicate with like EV rental cars. And with the purpose of preventing like accidents and these kinds of things.
Oh, I see.
But which is really, it's kind of interesting. It also seems like when I read this, I got really upset because I'm like, it's like $25 million over 2 years to do this. And I'm like, dude, just put cops on the road. Just police.
I've said that so many times. I'm like, what is happening here? You know, like constantly. I'm like, we just need someone to just tell people that that's not the right way to go through a roundabout.
Right.
But Jeju obviously has really put a lot of their investment into, they want Jeju to be, carbon free, but they want electric cars to be fully here by what? 2030?
2035? 2030? So the plan, and thank you for mentioning that, because it's really what this is about.
They're pushing it. They were pushing it 9 years ago when I first came, and I thought, this is going to be cool. And then you see how bureaucracy works. And
it's carbon free by 2030.
Carbon free, yeah.
And Jeju is a test bed. And the thing about these articles is that really nothing new is about it except for these projects, right? Because Jeju has been pushing this thing since 2008.
Yeah, for a long time.
Yeah, and I wrote about it back in the 2010s, the aughts, whatever you want to call it. You don't like the aughts? I think it's called the aughts.
No.
But it's a lot like what we talked about last time, which is the Jeju Island of World Peace title. It's much bigger than what it seems
like. Yeah, agreed.
So
there's a lot to unpack.
Yeah. So Jeju has there are 25,000 EVs on Jeju, but that's a part of the
electric vehicles for those of us that are not smart like me.
You're very smart, you know.
Yeah, whatever.
But Jeju's been offering subsidies to get people to buy these battery-dependent cars, and they're so in demand that you just can't buy a car, electric car. You have to get on a list, and there's lotteries and stuff. And though
it's a whole thing,
it's huge. Yeah. But it's not. The cars are such a small part of it. Like there's smart cities and the articles were talking about this new offshore wind farm on Jeju.
This is fascinating, by the way. Yeah.
Why do you think that was so fascinating?
Oh, because I mean, it's looking to see. I don't know you probably have some sort of factoid that you're going to bust out, but I mean, the amount of wind that Jeju gets, I think I remember reading something like it's one of the strongest wind shorelines of the world. So to harness this, go for it.
It's great.
Go for it.
I lived in Canada. I lived in back after I left Jeju for a few years, and I worked in covered papers for a rural community where wind they have cats. There are cats.
Oh gosh!
Not mine.
Having
outside.
A massive fight outside. I was like, oh my.
Where they hated wind turbines. They didn't want them. They thought they were going to ruin their views. And
I love them on Jeju. They're so beautiful. They're so unique when you like hit that one bend around Gimyeong and bam bam, and they're all just they're beautiful.
So to go back to my script because I got off of it a bit. So
sorry about that.
No, it's my own fault. Some 3,000 of the island's rental cars have like this onboard system to communicate with the road.
Okay.
And to prevent accidents and also promote
smart road.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the government says it has reduced accidents of those cars by 12%. Of all cars. And
of all cars or all the EV cars?
Reduce overall traffic accidents by 12%, which
I don't know.
And those cars.
You love how skeptical we both are. We're like, yeah, okay.
Bureaucrats giving numbers, sure.
Yeah, okay.
And then they said that overall, those cars in particular went down by 19%. And,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's part of Jeju's like carbon-free project, as we were saying, and those articles that didn't. The plan is that Jeju generates about 16% of its energy from renewables, which is nice.
Okay.
16%.
Okay.
But the thing that I went back and found some of my old reporting.
Okay.
And the plan was for Jeju to be 50% of its energy generated by new renewables by 2020.
I thought it was 2025, but either way, I remember that fact because when I was looking at moving here, you know, I was Googling everything, but at that time, there just wasn't a wealth of knowledge about Jeju. There wasn't a wealth of knowledge in general, but I was determined to live here. And the thing that kept popping up was, and which is one of the reasons I thought, wow, this place sounds really cool, was because they said by 2020 or whatever, I thought, that it would be, you know, over half. Obviously, we're behind, but that was already out there and well-known information. Easily found by Googling Jeju.
Yeah.
At that time, when did I move here? 2012? Yeah. 9 years ago.
The goal was to have 124% of renewable energy for the island, so they would be able to send the excess energy that they produce to the mainland. But
That's interesting.
I don't know if this is going to happen.
Yeah.
Because, well, like, Bentley just opened a car shop on Jeju.
Right?
Like, what's going on here?
Well, the first time I saw one, I don't know, I was probably in the GEC, and I was just like, and then you don't realize you haven't seen a car until you see the car, and you're like, oh, I haven't seen that car in some 10 years. Yeah, and fascinating.
Right. So I'm curious about how this carbon-free project is really going to work on some levels. Yeah. Right. Like they have, and it is really cool that Jeju's a test bed because we don't notice it in Sagipo but there's like Gujua is like an old town that they turned and they retrofitted it with like solar panels and all the stuff in their house has been upgraded to test this as a plan.
Yei also.
Yei too?
Yeah, not that specific, but another test project for reusable land. That's not the right word, but yeah.
And they're going to export it to the mainland and to the other.
They're going to, great. See, okay.
It's so interesting when you get into the nuts and bolts of it because this wasn't just a Korean project. The reason why Jeju's doing this is that they were pegged in 2009 at the Italian G8 summit to be Korea. You are going to be the country that does smart, like, grid technologies.
Fun. Okay.
So Korea,
go test it all out.
This is what you're doing.
This is going to be your contribution to the world.
Yeah. So they were pegged, and this is from my article back in like 2012, and they put in like hundreds of millions of dollars into this project on Jeju.
Fantastic. Okay.
And part of it is not just about renewable energy. Same thing that Biden keeps talking about. It's about also being a growth engine for Jeju, which is something that Jeju
desperately needs. Yeah.
So it just, things always sound stupid when Jeju talks about it sometimes. like
until you dive into it a little bit, the Hawaii of Jeju, until you like start unpacking the strangeness at the top of it, and then you get to the real gift at the bottom. It's like, you open up birthday presents, all this wrapping, and then you pull some off, you pull the stuffing out, and then underneath you're like, damn, that's pretty cool presents.
I think part of the problem is not what they what you were promised or what it seems to be advertising. Like, it sounds they were supposed to have 50% by 2020, right? That didn't happen.
Right.
We're at 16%. That's a huge
disparity.
Yeah. So I think that's part of the problem, but it's such a super interesting project, and I really hope that we can go see more of this and see. It's in the villages though. It's not in the
I do know, I'll just say randomly, just kind of on the same subject, I know that the Jeju government is really keen on making Jeju a place for investors to come to. They don't want Jeju to just be this tourism island anymore. They don't want, they want other countries to come to see Jeju, much like now that you read something like this, you're like, okay, I can see where you're wanting to show off what you can offer in Jeju.
Mhm.
And it's not just tourism or cafes. There's really a lot that the government is wanting to do.
Yeah.
And I think one of the cool things that's happening, and sometimes we talk about this with Save Jeju Bada, but there's amazing initiatives to upcycling. I think we mentioned this. I can't remember what episode, but there's companies now that are coming here specifically to play around with upcycling and trying new things and different investments. So, I mean, this is just one more piece of something more that Jeju is wanting to give the world and not just be the honeymoon island or,
And it's amazing how often, like, you come into these projects without realizing, like, Jeju City is like free internet, right? Outside.
Right.
That's this.
Exactly. Yeah. Wow. Again, I do wish someone would come up with some better lingo, some better names.
Carbon free by 2030 doesn't work for you?
No, it doesn't work for me.
I liked it. But is that true? Because is it carbon free or is it carbon neutral?
Well, now you're just getting okay. But yeah, okay.
Oh, okay.
I'm like,
that's not a move. I think that's a good point because carbon free is different than carbon neutral, which is
that's true. But the goal at the time when they made that they had a different goal. Now maybe it's a reassessment. I don't know. I don't know enough to.
All I know is I want a Tesla. Don't you want a Tesla?
Well, I do. Another interesting thing that I've read somewhere, or I've had this conversation somewhere, is all these electric cars are maybe not as great as we all want or think them to be. The battery life. Did we discuss this on the podcast, or was this in some of the group? Was about the electric car graveyard here in Jeju?
I don't know. We may have mentioned. I did put that up there on the Jeju Island social.
But it was out there it sparked quite a conversation amongst the foreigners on the island about like, really, how are the electric cars as fun as you want them to be, or are they actually just a lot of work? And then, so that conversation was happening. But then again, obviously something's happening. Why do we have hundreds of cars in a electric graveyard? Like
that's because of the subsidies. It was cheaper to get a new car for these cabs because those were like rental cars.
Right, they're right.
Rental car companies, which had like first dibs, it seems, at these subsidies.
But then to
just leave them?
Just abandon them there. It seems like the exact opposite of what we're going for here in the sustainable life. And now we have this graveyard of cars.
I'm not a businessman, so I would have kept them. I don't know if that's the right business decision to make.
I don't know. But it's an ongoing unpacking of things, I think. And that's just one more piece to add to many other pieces.
Right.